11. The Town That Rejected the Robot. Phil, there's the city up ahead! Philemon leaned back in his seat and raised his eyebrows as if to say, "Here we go again." But of course they both had on their minds the possibility raised by the religious leader of the last town they were in, the writer of that anti-robotics tract, and the fact that we would be in the same city as that same writer who had written it. Who knows how large the town is going to be, the Philemon of past had said. The chances of meeting the exact person, exact enunciated, could be so small that let's just travel through as normal and see what happens. Of course, it still could just so happen to happen. And to a town they did arrive. A metropolis, it seemed. Well, it looks as if... Philemon paused as he realized the wistfulness building in his voice, as if it will be another while before we were back to grass, trees, or forest. Baucis grabbed his arm in support, as if to say, "This too shall pass." But Philemon was right. The blacktop ground continued onward, horse hoof on cement and tar. Baucis had never seen Philemon so tired before she had seen him try and navigate this cityscape, saving of course for the time he was drugged and in a cell. "Hey Phil, do you think we should stop and grab a coffee, something to eat, before continuing on?" Philemon tilted his head, slowly, limply, in her direction before stating, "Sure, that actually would be a great idea. This town, its crowds and stone, it's exhausting." He was really just trying to stay strong and travel for as long as it would take to find escape from such an urbane place. But they both understood fully the meaning behind his words. He wanted the grass. Rock underneath was draining. And so they stopped for a while in a cafe and found a table to sit at. A waitress greeted them as they arrived. "Seat for two?" A tired nod. "Just this way. A booth okay?" Of course. The whole spiel. Sorry if I'm being terse. Philemon told the waitress as she returned with some menus. "It's just, I'm tired after the traveling." "Jet lagged?" She winked with a smile before leaving. Philemon didn't know the term, so he just shrugged in Baucis' direction. She just shrugged back in reply. Philemon ordered a coffee, black. Keep it simple, he figured. Baucis, an iced latte. She hadn't had any milk in a while, and coffee is its natural pair. The order was delivered, and the pair sat quietly a while, enjoying the drink set before them. Philemon sipping from the hot mug as he gazed absent-mindedly out of the window. People passing through the city as quickly as they could, to reach whatever their determined destination was. Such a busy place. Philemon was sitting still but felt the rush of traffic himself as a bystander, as if the city was busy on his account somehow. "You know, Phil, it's just beans." The words brought him back out of his thoughts, and his eyes searched around the city street outside as if looking for something he had somehow missed. What was just beans? "The drink, Phil. It's just beans. You could carry a bag with you." "Heated up over a campfire while we're traveling?" "Yeah, it'd feel like we were pilgrims or something." A man from a nearby table walked by in order to use the washroom, so Philemon and Baucis shifted their legs underneath the table in order to stay out of the man's way. "I don't know, Baucis. If I drank this every morning, I feel eventually I could become dependent on it." "It's okay to rely on some things, sometimes, though." "Yeah, I depend on the road eventually leading somewhere, and weather permitting a little hunting or scavenging for herbs and other things." "Those are very ephemeral concerns, Phil. The world couldn't operate if things like that couldn't be relied on." "Yeah, but it's a constant thing, though, right?" "Constant ephemerality, is it?" "I think so." The man returned from the washroom and began to walk back towards his table when he paused a moment near the pair's table. The longer he stood there, the more attention was taken away from conversing and more towards the stranger hovering above their table. But the awkwardness was broken when the man finally uttered, "Is that one of my tracks you have on the table?" Both Philemon and Baucis gave a lean of their head to the side as if to say, "Really?" The man's face seemed to darken as if the pair had found him rude, but in actuality the shock was not from some social faux pas as the older man thought. Just the fact that neither Philemon nor Baucis really thought they would actually somehow coincidentally meet the man who had written the tract, especially after seeing how urbane the city actually was. But here they were, pamphlet flipped to the author page, and that selfsame writer there in front of them. "Would you, like to sit down?" Bosa said, uncharacteristically nervous. She and Philemon had been thinking of this stranger since they had left the last town. The man first picked up his mug from his table, and then obliged them, sitting down at their table. You know, it's been a while since I've seen one of those old tracks circulating around. The implementation of robots in daily life seems sort of a forgotten topic. Even talking about the existence of them isn't a popular conversation anymore. They sipped their drinks as the hustle and bustle of the town outside continued. There was no question of the validity of the statement as the older man's eyes lightened, as one's do when bringing back old memories. We got the pamphlet from a group, camping out a whiles back. Ah, yes, I've met them, though I never introduced myself as the writer behind the source of their little ritual. Some of them surely recognized me. They really took to my tract. They seem to have understood the feeling behind the tract well enough. A lively bunch they are. The pair nodded in agreement, as they sat speaking lowly in that little cafe, crowd silently passing by the window outside. There wasn't any actual malevolence behind robots, though, right? At the end of the day, it's still just a thing, not thinking. A tool. True, true, but it was never about the thing itself, but about the ethic it would ingrain within the community it found itself a part of. People ultimately just want life to be easy. If a society at large had robots to complete every task, people at large wouldn't have any reason to organize together, to speak to one another at all. Again a pause, where the group sat sipping their drinks, watching the people outside pass by each other silently, engrossed only in thoughts towards the place where they would be heading next. Especially in urban centers such as this, where you're already atomized, with robots taking the reins, it's hard to imagine people leaving their rooms at all, let alone gathering in tents to enact some sort of community-driven theater of sorts. Again, talk of that other town. But do people here coordinate in that way, that sort of communal theater? Well, they have television, sort of a theater en masse, but a shared experience nonetheless, connecting people. Again another sip as the people's paths crossed silently outside their window, with no notice of one another. As they set their cups down, it was the final time. The mugs were empty, coffee all drank. But enough of old tracks, I suppose. The past belongs where it is, behind us. With that the man excused himself, becoming one with the crowd outside the window. Well, there are the two perspectives of his written story, I suppose. The pair waited as their bill was brought to them. And we can still get a bag to bring with us, right? A bag? Of beans. Of course.